Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Candice, and today we're going to talk about whether mass adoption is really the measure of success for Web3. So I'm currently a PR consultant, and I work mostly with infrastructure projects. I've been in this space since 2017. I am also a core contributor to CryptoComs Collective, which is a group of Web3 and crypto PR and communications professionals. We're brought together to ensure continuous high standards of the work that we're doing in this space, and also to build trust in this industry. So to start off, I asked the question, all of you, why are you here? Why are you here at this stage? Why are you here in Denver? Why are you here watching me from the live stream, which I hope you are doing? And why are you in Web3 and why are you in crypto? So I'll tell you why I'm here. I stumbled onto this industry because I stumbled onto an open position. And when I read about the company, I read what blockchain is, what DLT is, and what the company is using this technology for, I said, oh, wow, that's cool, that's exciting, I want to be involved. And from that moment, I told myself that I wanted to elicit the same kind of response, albeit a little more enthusiastic than what I just showed you, to everyone that I talk to about the work I do and about the projects that I work with. So why is that important? So that was a very simplified and very unpolished version of what I would say is vision and purpose, my vision and my purpose. And this is important because vision and purpose, it drives actions, it drives words, it drives motivation. And I have worked for a really long time, and in Web2, very corporate Web2 experience, and in Web3 with leadership directly. And it amazes me that a lot of them don't actually communicate their vision, what they want, what they're trying to achieve. They'll tell me an idea they have or what they want to do, and I always have to pull them back and ask them, what are you trying to achieve by doing that? What do you want? And why are you doing it? And a lot of them have to pause or think about it or come up with something on the fly that I said, does that tie back to your strategy? Does it make sense? And oftentimes, it's very nuanced in this industry because vision can pivot. Vision and purpose can pivot intentionally, it can pivot reluctantly, for a variety of reasons, bad reasons, good reasons. Maybe because there is some sort of pressure from the VCs or communities or internal team members. And I think a very, very big example of vision pivoting would be Google. The founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, initially had this vision of an open source public space, a superior search engine, right, that actually makes information universally accessible and useful. They were very much against an advertising-based business model because they felt that it would impact basically the integrity and the biasness of search results. And it wasn't until an early investor and advisor, sounds familiar, realized the potential that user data can be used for profits and push for it, that Google became the Google that we know of today. And they achieved mass adoption. Great, right? And I guess they're really successful, right? Or wrong? Is that a success that you want? Maybe, maybe not. So from there, today what I'm talking about isn't those people who, know that they want mass adoption because that's what they needed, know that they want to turn a quick profit, make a quick buck. I'm talking about the builders who wanted to solve a real-world challenge. They wanted to build something, or they want to build something for themselves, for their family, for their friends. You may be young and new, all new. You could be old and new, and very optimistic. Or you could be experienced and wary, kind of like me, but you're still holding on to hope. You're holding on to hope that is tighter than you holding your bags. That's me. And, I'm talking to the ones who kept on keeping on, even during the bear market. And you're still here in Denver, you've gone to, you've gone to the conference circuit, and you've met the like-minded people, and you've enjoyed it, and you managed to shut out the noise that's irrelevant to you. So, Why is this not working? Sorry, why is this not working? Yes. Great. So when did we become obsessed with mass adoption? In my line of work, I am constantly keeping up with the changing narratives. What is hot? What is not? DeFi summer, or whatsoever. Everything that comes up on crypto Twitter. And, I saw how we landed onto mainstream adoption, mass adoption. Remember, everyone was talking about onboarding the next billion users on crypto Twitter, on panels, on stages like this. And, you kind of bought into it, right? That wave was just so infectious. And interestingly, I think that this tied in around the bull, where there was a lot of VC money flowing in, and everybody was in a rush with intense pressure to prove PMF to the VCs, to prove that those VCs are going to have an extremely high ROI. And, what better way to say that, they get a huge return by saying that your product will achieve mass adoption. That became the only metric that kind of mattered, alongside your DAUs and your TVLs. So, mass adoption, mainstream adoption is basically a widespread use among general public, and it is actually viewed as a mainstream standard in our daily lives. And mass adoption is also a significant number of people that are actively using your Web3 applications, your crypto-native applications. This could be your DEX, your wallets, your content management platforms like Mirror, your decentralized credentials, your decentralized storage like Filecoin and Codex. It is also the seamless integration of crypto-native tech into our daily tools. This means that the user interaction does not need to actually understand crypto or Web3. It's pretty much similar to people who are using the internet and have no idea what TCP/IP is. I know that I don't really know as well. And also economies of scale. Right, this is basic 101 economics, which I had to study. When something has reached mass adoption, mainstream adoption, the product actually becomes affordable enough for everyone. So that's a very, consumer product sort of way to view things. And this is how adoption in our industry currently looks like. We have NFTs. We have our DeFi, you have your DEXs, you have your crypto bank cards, wallets, meme coins, enough said, investment products, your ETFs, physical OTCs. So that actually exists in Hong Kong. It's just there for Consensus Hong Kong. And you could see them, popping up a few places here and there. Bitcoin ATMs. So there are 40,000 Bitcoin ATMs around the world, across 72 countries. Can you guess which is the country that has the most number of ATMs? Exactly, the United States, with 32,000 ATMs, Bitcoin ATMs here, followed by Canada and Australia. So yeah, and I am including regulation in adoption, in the mass adoption of this industry landscape, because regulation follows growth. And when an industry becomes a fundamental part of an economy, this is when the government realizes that it requires oversight. So when regulation kicks in, it means that we are being taken seriously. And this is great, right? Except that one thing in common about everything is that it is financially motivated. There is a financial relation to it. There's a speculation and very speculative sort of aspect to it. And it kind of depresses me, or maybe not depress me, well, it's mainly because I work with a lot of really good infrastructure projects that doesn't have any direct link to this, right? And so where do you stand if you're not building a DeFi protocol? Where do you stand if you're not trying to rug pull, right? And alongside this image of our industry, you have seen the issues that have cropped up. And now we're talking about the hacks, the rug pulls, the fraud, and so on and so forth. And that is how, the normies or even the media actually view our industry. And I need to qualify that all those problems and issues that's popped out is not a crypto problem. It is traditional fraud. It is traditional greed. It is the traditional, sense that, comes along with social media, that you need to be viral, you need to do something, you need the attention in order to succeed. And do you wonder, if you fit in anywhere, if your project would actually be on this page at some point in time? Maybe, maybe not. So, the thing about DeFi is it was essentially to drive financial freedom and accessibility. And now I think this is quite far from where we actually want it to be. So I'll tell you why mass adoption can be misleading. Right? Because a lot of people could just be chasing it as a vanity metric, as opposed to actually having true real value creation. It is all about chasing users that actually, are drawn in by the hype. It's not about your utility, And talking about those users, the problem with these fair weather users are because they're here for speculative incentives, right? Airdrops, yield farming, they could be here for the zip line. I don't know if anybody got that, but anyway. And these users actually, they will leave when the incentives dry up. And then they go from project to project searching these incentives, which means that all of you that chase this group of users are actually just dipping your toe into the same very murky user pool. So this growth does not actually contribute to the growth of this industry at all. It's not real, it's not true, it is not sustainable, it is not long-term success for you. And at the end of the day, right, you don't actually solve real-world problems or even first-world problems, and solving that's actually not a bad thing in my opinion. So, true adoption should be based on solving real problems and contributing to the greater good of the world and not just our industry. So, I want to talk about first principles because I am passionate about them, and because I can, and because it does matter. So, for those who don't know and those who know as well, let's just look back to the past, a throwback, and understand that crypto came from the cypherpunk era. It's all about sovereignty. It's about protecting privacy, anonymity, decentralization through cryptography, right? And I read that day on crypto Twitter, which I scroll a lot on, obviously, that people were saying crypto came out of the dark web. And there's such a huge misconception and misalignment from what the actual truth is. Thankfully, there were a lot of people who actually knew where crypto came from, commented and replied and just, kind of rectified that misconception. And why is this important? Why does it matter? Because somewhere along the way, we came from that into this huge meme coin and casino culture. Hey, nothing wrong with that. There is a place for everything. I'm going to qualify that. But then this means that we've gone so far, to the point that people are actually disinterested in building on these foundational principles or even caring about it, even thinking about it. Well, they've gone to the other extreme and somehow just exploiting it. And, it is a very clear indication of what the masses want, because I'm a PR, and I work with a lot of infra projects. So it means that it's a massive effort on my part to get the media to actually be interested in really, really good infrastructure stories, milestones, what the roadmap achievements, what the impact to the wider industry is. They say they're interested, but they say that the viewers may not be interested. I used to work for an infrastructure privacy company, and getting any sort of privacy-related stories placed is even harder. And they say, no, we love it, we want it. Everyone cares about privacy, we care about privacy, but we don't really know how to care about it. So, it's very hard to write about it. Nobody cares, nobody wants to read it. And that's actually quite sad, in my opinion. And look, I think that there are people who also started out building with these foundational principles in mind, and somewhere along the way they've had to pivot. Pressures from VCs, communities actually, I guess, put more pressure on these projects than VCs, and even internal team members. People they hire in to scale the company and to drive growth, somehow have a different vision, and somehow look at success differently. So, a lot of companies are forced to do that, and I think the issue is that when you are chasing mass adoption blindly, there's a very high probability that you're going to steer away from not only just the foundational principles of crypto, but your own original vision. Like I said, there is nothing wrong with mass adoption if it makes sense for your project. There is nothing wrong if that is a success that you want. But I'm talking about those who are searching more beyond that and really want to look at the value that they're creating. There's a place for everything. So if not mass adoption, we have niche adoption, where a small but very knowledgeable and very engaged user base could actually create and give you more value than a very large and very disengaged and disinterested audience. I talk about, solving specific complex problems for well-defined communities. What does that mean? Well, basically, if you are solving for a very specific issue, you have a very specific user target, they can actually use your Web3 tool more effectively and also give you the feedback that will help you, improve your product and to help you scale and to help you prioritize the features that you should be prioritizing for your vision and for your product. And then, you get the correct feedback, you get the correct ask from the community and the industry and the users, and then you could iterate you could iterate many times and actually reach the stellar iteration that is very close or even close and even hit your original vision. So I think that we need a fundamental shift to real value creation and utility. I landed in Denver last night and, just scrolling crypto Twitter, trying to get over the jet lag, going to bed. And it was really interesting for those who arrived on the weekend. There was a lot of chatter and talk about value and utility and how we need to start building for that. It doesn't matter what you think of the conference here or there or in Asia or anywhere. I think what matters is the people that you meet and what you talk about. And it seems to me that it's really high signal that everybody is desperately wanting to get back to focusing on building and creating the value and, desperately wanting people to see their vision and not just speculating on what the markets are moving towards. And I know yesterday or this morning, I don't know when Denver, so it's a different time zone. I think this morning there was a bit of a shake-up to the market. Everybody was saying it quite despondent. I shut it out because I wanted to talk about this today, and I think it worked because it helped me focus. And that's what it is, right? When you have a smaller, effective community, it helps you focus on the right things. It gives you a very clear direction of where you should be heading towards as you build and rebuild and rebuild and redraw your roadmap and publish it on Twitter. And, brief out your dev team, of course. So these are some of the other pieces of the success puzzle. It's not prescriptive. It is not even something that I say you have to consider. I'm just giving you an example of how there are other measures to look at instead of mass adoption, right? We look at how effective are you at addressing a problem, a problem that you care about, a problem that maybe your family cares about, impact on industry standards. So I think that if you are doing something that's really well on a very smallish industry or big or mid-sized industry, and you manage to make an impact by changing certain things that you think doesn't work, that's a very huge, loud signal that actually you're doing something right. I want to talk a little bit about authority and reputation of users. So, for example, if you are, say, verifying scientific data, medical data, perhaps, right? And you have the research institutions that are your users, and maybe some hospitals or other related stakeholders, and there could just only be tens of thousands, not many, in the grand scheme of things in the world. But if you have the really reputable research institutions that are your users, like maybe the Mayo Clinic, I think that's very high signal as well that you are a successful project. And at the end of the day, sustainable growth is something that I learned as a business degree holder. And I think that's what we are effectively chasing, right? You think that mass adoption will allow you to have continuous users, and therefore your project will continue to grow and be around the next 10, 20 years. So, but the thing is this, right? That's the beauty of our industry. It's about free will. It's about choices. Users want choices. So again, like I said, this is not prescriptive, but it's time for you to think about what else you actually believe could be a measure of success for your project. So what does that mean? What's next? I think you should chase people who are you, who are your people. And I think you need to be the people that you want to be with. You know, people that you work with, people who use your product, right? And take the feedback from both the team and the user to then, do better and to grow and to be successful, and prioritize features that tie back to your strategy, because that's never going to steer you away from your vision. If you have to pivot, but do it for a good reason, not because you're trying to impress a VC, not because crypto Twitter told you that is the way to succeed. And expand outside of the usual and very obvious user pool. I talked about fair weather users previously. Think a little bit about who you want to be using your product. And I think that will put you in the right direction. So at the end of the day, ask yourself, what does success look like to you? I think it's time that all of you actually hear yourself think again, and not what the industry is telling you success is or what you should do. Listen to talks like this and panels and take away what you need to take for and know what works well for you. And one last thing as well, if you build it, they won't come if you don't tell them about it. So build for users that care about the same things that you do, and then tell them why they should care about your product. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing more projects being talked about that are actually creating real-world value.